Roguelike refers to the genre of action-adventure games in which the player is thrown into procedurally generated environments and is forced to start from the beginning when they die. Traditionally speaking, roguelike games are supposed to derive their name from Rogue, a game that first appeared in the 1980s and which changed gaming considerably. Its creator, Glenn Wickman, said that inspiration was taken from Dungeons and Dragons, going as far as to use stats directly from D&D in the first versions of the game. Even though Rogue gave the genre its name, the first roguelike is considered to be Beneath Apple Manor, which predates Rogue by 2 years. Once Rogue set the identity for the genre, fighting in randomized dungeons, facing monsters, collecting items, dying, and restarting, the evolution began. Initial steps with Hack and its spin-off NetHack added complexity, more player choices, and better mechanics, while Angband introduced wider character customization, with both games still being developed 30 years later. Progress continued with games such as Omega and Ancient Domains of Mystery, which added non-combat zones and actual storylines. The term roguelike began to be used around 1993 on Usenet newsgroups, an arena for discussions, and has remained popular ever since. A more formal definition was created at the International Roguelike Development Conference in Berlin in 2008. Known as a Berlin interpretation, this definition is based on the characteristics of the genre, namely procedurally generated content, permadeath, turn-based combat, complexity, exploration, and discovery. Interestingly, roguelike fans dislike the limitations of defining the genre, although its creators did not intend to place constraints on developers or games. As the genre evolved, every developer used it according to their own priorities and understanding. Since roguelikes tend to be ignored by mainstream media, fans gathered in online communities, leading to the evolution of the genre. Slay the Spire is a 2019 deck-building dungeon crawler roguelike made by Megacrit. In this game, the player attempts to climb to the top of the spire while fighting several monsters on the way using a combination of different special cards collected during each run. The game features complex turn-based combat, where the player has a set amount of energy points they can spend to use their cards and either attack or defend. This system forces a player to think strategically, as enemies telegraph their moves the turn before. This complexity in Slay the Spire encourages player initiative through deck building, as the player has to carefully select cards that work well together to be able to counteract the unforgiving nature of the game, since if the player dies, they have to start a new run. The player initiative is in the forefront of the game's design, as the player has to carefully decide what reward they have to take after each encounter and plan out their path up the spire. Encounters in the game are procedurally generated, ensuring that each encounter is unique, thus allowing infinite replayability. What sets Slay the Spire apart from other roguelike games is its fast-paced yet strategic gameplay, and the infinite combination and synergies between cards found during each run, creating addictive deck building. The game was critically acclaimed with perfect scores across the board and set a new standard within the genre. The game was so successful that it popularized deck building as a gameplay mechanic and the roguelike genre as a whole. Eventually, the roguelike genre itself began to evolve beyond the confines set by the Berlin interpretation. This led to the creation of roguelite games, a subgenre in which the games blend roguelike principles with others like platformers or Metroidvanias. The roguelite games allow players to retain progress between plays, thus becoming more forgiving while simultaneously retaining the appeal of roguelike gaming. Hades is a 2020 roguelite role-playing action game developed by Supergiant Games. In this game, the protagonist Zacharias tries to escape from the underworld by ascending for each of its layers, fighting the various shades and monsters along the way. The game features several mechanics typical of a genre. As a roguelike, Hades has procedurally generated encounters and rewards that are different in each run, within set layers of the underworld as well as fast-paced, bullet hell-like combat. During each run, the player can select between upgrades from different Olympian gods that enhance their weapons or abilities in different ways. Of course, these upgrades only last for the duration of the run, while the variety of combinations make the game have near infinite replayability. At the same time, the game diverges from pure roguelike into roguelite by combining the genre with elements of visual novels. One of the major features of Hades is complex and layered conversation options between the player's character and the residents of the underworld. On the one hand, this offers a clear and linear goal and storyline, while also breaking up the monotony of the typical roguelike formula. Furthermore, The game does not feature true permadeath, since a player can keep some items in story progress between runs. Hades also has several ways to permanently enhance the player, such as aspects for weapons and the Mirror of the Night. Hades was met with instant commercials and critical success, as it innovated not only the roguelike genre, but indie gaming as a whole, while also popularizing roguelikes within the indie industry. In the modern gaming world, roguelikes continue to expand in popularity with releases such as Hades 2 or Call to the Lamb, establishing the genre as both profitable and creatively rich. With recent successes, it has become apparent that the procedural generation of roguelikes allows indie developers to create near infinite content using a limited amount of assets, thus providing the player with more playtime. Despite its original niche appeal, the roguelike genre has reached mainstream popularity due to its capacity for innovation through expanding and combining with game spaces. Games such as Inscription blend roguelike mechanics with elements of deck building and horror to create a new, entirely unique playing experience. At the same time, the rise in popularity has created a sense of familiarity for fans of roguelikes, whose community has grown exponentially. Another recent example of a roguelike that has transcended the typical formula of the genre and created a unique experience is Balatro. Balatro is a poker-themed deck builder roguelike created by indie developer Local Funk in 2024. Instead of fighting enemies, the gameplay focuses on trying to reach a certain score through poker hand combinations and multipliers that increase your point gains. During each blind, the player will have to reach a progressively rising score by combining the cards they have collected in their deck during the run with multiplier values, booster packs, and a variety of joker cards that add special effects once your conditions have been met. The joker cards, wild point gains, and their upgrades form the foundation of the game's addictive nature, since those modifiers synergize with the player's cards to reach increasingly crazier numbers. Of course, the game also features permadeath, allowing players to experiment with unique builds on each run based on what they receive. This game is a shining example of the importance of complex upgrading systems and synergies within the roguelike genre. This video essay has allowed me to gain a deeper insight into roguelikes as well as an appreciation for the potential for innovation and creativity they enable. One genre that I believe would fit well with the features of a roguelike is first person shooters. This combination allows for fast paced, high action combat while also providing great variety and replayability through upgrading systems and procedurally generated dungeons. My idea for an innovative roguelike game is an FPS dungeon crawler themed around casinos where the player shoots playing cards. The game, of course, would feature randomized dungeons, complex upgrading trees, and permadeath. What would set this game apart is its unique theming, as well as the satisfaction of the main card throwing mechanic in its fast paced shooter environment. The roguelike genre is one of many rising stars of the gaming industry, which may have appeared many years ago but is still evolving. Its creativity and complexity will continue to inspire generations of developers to innovate and expand beyond the constraints of what was thought possible.